So my name is Beth and I'm the coordinator for the Great Collaboration Project. I live in rural Ivington, North Herefordshire, with my 2 young girls, my dog and my husband. Also a local councillor for Leominster. And we don't have any family or friends in Herefordshire whatsoever. We moved here, well, it's quite a well-kept secret, to be honest with you, so don't tell anybody, because I quite like it the way it is. My background is in education. I was head of English teaching secondary school pupils, and I kind of cut my teeth in London and the southeast, really. So the reason why I'm here today is to talk about the work that the Herefordshire Green Network does. And I'm hoping that by the end of this talk, you'll go away completely informed about the great collaboration towards a zero carbon Herefordshire. But there will also be homework throughout this. So as nice as it is to hear all these positive stories and case studies and things, ultimately, we do need everyone to be a part of this journey towards zero carbon. So there are going to be, websites to look up, tangible actions that individuals can go away and actually do. And I kind of feel like, I don't know about you guys, but so much of this last year has been spent building infrastructure for our network, building these innovative projects, loads and loads of talking. And talking is very, very important, but I'm all about action, to be honest with you. So rest assured that it is action that gets me out of bed each day. And attempting to help with these huge changes that are needed in our lives. And ultimately that's because of my 2 girls, my 2-year-old and my 4-year-old. So I do want to set a wee bit of context before, so we're all on the same page. And the reason why we do this work is it's not glamorous at all, sitting on your laptop in your cabin at the bottom of the garden, certainly not glamorous. And there are a lot of people out there working incredibly hard. And that is because the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere is skyrocketing. And despite all of the international agreements that have been made to lower it. And sadly, that tiny little dip that we saw in COVID has already been erased. And we are on track for the 2nd biggest increase in emissions in history this of the 6th mass extinction event. And I hope that today you hear some stories of people working really, really hard to make a difference and using their privilege really to start this journey towards zero carbon. And I think it's really useful to think about your local council and to think about how they reacted to the COVID crisis. Did they have in their website like a great big banner, a telephone number you could ring, this army of incredible volunteers who were going around and doing shopping or just chatting to people who were lonely on the phone? And I feel like people did such amazing things, but we've still got such a very long way to go in order to save our planet. So wouldn't it be great if we could utilize and harness some of that energy? So I am going to share with you a presentation, if I can get it working. So bear with me. And I have got a few, here we go, a few websites that I want to show you. And I really hope that when I click on them, my internet doesn't go dodgy. So bear with me. Okay, can I get a thumbs up? Can everyone see all the logos? Logos everywhere. So I'm going to be talking about these logos and what they mean throughout this talk. So let's begin, shall we, with the Herefordshire Green Network. So, and apologies if you know some of this stuff, but I'm really just starting at the beginning. So the Herefordshire Green Network brings together local and individuals who are all committed to a thriving Herefordshire and who are all working together to address the climate and ecological crisis. This last year, we've worked really, really hard to create kind of infrastructure with our communications and our website and things like that. And it means that the Green Network is now, we're ready for the mainstream, you know, whereas before it was a bunch of like-minded people. I don't know, 10 years ago, probably a bunch of people sat around a campfire coming up with these ideas. And now we're really in a position where Hereford Football Club could join and it wouldn't be weird. You know, we can accommodate people in the mainstream a lot more. So in the last year or so, we've gone from kind of carrier pigeon to, whatever modern is, I don't know. So we've got this really strong, active base of public support and this really long history of positive engagement with local agencies, local government and local businesses. So I really feel that the Herefordshire Green Network is uniquely well placed, really, to encourage this long-term sustainable change across Herefordshire. So we've got a weekly newsletter that goes out, which has got a readership of over 400 people. And this is something that you really, if you're not already, you should be signing up to. It basically collates everything sustainable that's going on in the county, and it's also a really great place to advertise events and things that are happening from your end as well. We offer free events and workshops, and obviously, I mean, these are all free, but every little donation helps. And there is a donate now button now on our website, and you can go on there and browse through all of our previous gatherings and our events and just learn stuff for free, to be honest with you. We've also got members groups. So if you go to the website, you'll find that we've put all of these on a map and you can filter through to find what you're looking for. I'm going to attempt that now. Let's see if it works. Oh, it's going round in circles. So ultimately, you can kind of put in your postcode and filter out from our member groups things that might interest you. Here we go. If this doesn't work, I might have to stop doing that. You'll see throughout the presentation, actually, there's a little picture of the Earth throughout it. And I'll send this round as well with the links. So, you know, I'd say your homework for this little section would be to go and join our network, give what you can, but as individuals, it is free. But if you happen to be part of a local environmental organisation or a group or a business, and if you're not one of our 80 members, you know, if you want to take a more active interest in keeping in touch with others from around the county, then go onto the website and have a look at joining. And we've just redone our prices. So individuals are free, but not for volunteer-led organisations at £25 for the year. Parish and town councils £50 for the year, and for-profit organisations £50 for the year. So let's see. Oh my goodness, this is how slow my internet is. I don't even know how I function. If it doesn't work, it's not a huge deal. For example, when you get on there, you get to the bottom and you can search through. So I would put in perhaps, I might put my postcode in and I might filter out agriculture and wildlife and land use. That's all one section. And it would show all of the nearest members around me. And I think my nearest one is Applewood Permaculture Centre. So I'm going to stop that because it's just annoying, isn't it? There we go. We'll go back to that. You can do that yourselves. It's quite simple. And I'm sure your internet connection is much better than mine. I'll save it for future clicks later. So we also have 12 members of our steering group who are just phenomenal human beings. And their specialities are far-ranging. Have I frozen? No, okay, good. It just flashed up at me. So I guess the whole point of this network is that it's a hub. It's a hub for sharing expertise and information that directly leads to action. So that's kind of an overview of the Herefordshire Green Network. Okie dokes. The next one is the Great Collaboration. So this is the project that, that I coordinate. And again, we have got loads of stuff on our website about this. So go and have a little explore and look at some of our previous events and things that have been on. And it will explain, you know, some of the things that we're doing. But essentially, this is kind of what we've been up to so far. So phase one of our project, we developed these zero carbon focused workshops that were inspired by the Centre for Alternative Technology and their paper, Zero Carbon Britain. So it was August 2019 through to February 2020. We took this workshop to 6 different locations across Herefordshire. And you can see there that we engaged with 155 councillors, which is the whole spectrum of governance. So that was, I think that was a really big success. And we covered topics such as, you know, land use, energy generation, transport, energy performance in buildings and community engagement. And this is something that we would like to repeat in the future when capacity allows. And you'll see there that I've highlighted some of those key topic areas. And this is, I suppose, my own personal opinion, but I believe that transport and energy saving in buildings in particular are where we really need to be directing our energies at the moment. Herefordshire has, you know, the largest carbon emissions are from these areas, and community engagement is one which I believe is incredibly important because we need people power. We need to make this stuff happen, and we need to engage with those people around us. So, so from this, we essentially learnt what councillors needed to know. They told us where some of their knowledge gaps were and what they wanted more information on. So when COVID hit, we adapted and we went online like everybody else. So from March 2020 to kind of February of this year, really, we were holding online workshops for councillors to attend. All of them have been recorded and edited and put up on the website, along with a lot of resources for local councils under those same headings. We've also started to capture kind of positive case studies about some of the strides that have been made in local councils. And we now have, as a direct result of that, 13 paying council members. And it's my job essentially to try and support them in their journey. At the same time, we started to form these links with the diocese, and I've been lucky enough to work alongside some really wonderful people working incredibly hard in the education sector. So I have been involved with that as well. And I coordinated for some years the Green Schools project in Herefordshire. So it is kind of my ambition, I suppose, that every local council in Herefordshire would be working. So you'd have the council, the schools, the doctor's surgery, the faith groups, everybody working together to kind of form, I suppose you could say, energy descent action plans, but I really think it has to be locally relevant actions. And sometimes when you call something an energy descent action plan, people get a bit, I call it spreadsheet purgatory. They just sort of get wrapped up in spreadsheets, which is very frustrating for somebody who's interested in action. So I am going to come back to this project a little bit more later on, but I wanted to show you something else here. This is something very, very useful, I believe. One of the tools that I've been using to inform all of this, and it's called the Impact Community Carbon Calculator, and the Centre for Sustainable Technology created this. Essentially, it's a free resource, and all you have to do is type in your area and it will give you a breakdown of all of your carbon emissions. It's such a useful tool. Go on, shall I try and click on it, see what happens? I can type in Leominster. It's really interesting looking at different areas actually and seeing whether it follows that kind of, you know, normally it's housing has the biggest chunk. And oh, it worked. Okay, so let's do Leominster. Here we are. And you can see here, and there's different ways you can do this, and you can look at the methodology in more detail. Territorial consumption. I quite like looking at the subcategories as well.
I'm not sure if it's just my screen, Beth, but I can't see what you're looking at.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, why is that then?
No, I can't either, Beth. Sorry.
Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. If I stop share, it might be because I changed my screens, but the computer didn't catch up, if you know what I mean. So I'll click on the one that's open. How's that?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, I need to go out and go back in again. Now I know that, that's fine. So yes, I quite like clicking on these subcategories, and it tells you, you know, per household, the kind of carbon emissions. And interestingly, Leominster doesn't follow this same pattern. The biggest chunk is dedicated to industrial and commercial here. And it's interesting as well with housing, which I'll talk about in a little bit as well. You can actually look, you know, is it mains gas, electricity? We don't actually have as much oil. So yeah, this is something I would definitely recommend having a little play with, but more to the point, go and have a look and then take that information to your local council. Use it as a starting point to have those conversations, do the work for them, analyze it for them, tell them about the great collaboration, you know, towards Zero Carbon Herefordshire, or better yet, go and see if your local council has got any vacancies. And there are so many at the moment. And I don't know, I mean, this is obviously a different perspective, but it's not that fun being a local councillor. It can be a wee bit confrontational, depending on who you've got around you. But what better way than to ensure that the crisis is in the forefront of everybody's mind? And I got to say that in all the time that I've been a councillor for Leominster, I have never once received an email about the crisis. There have been absolutely no members of the public at any of our meetings at all. And I really believe that we have to kind of bridge this gap a little bit more. So yes, there's some more homework and some more information. Let's see. Now, if you remember, we focused our talks around the key themes of land use and transport and energy generation. I'm just thinking, did you guys get the right slide there? Yeah. Apologies. Actually, I can edit all of this to make it look seamless. It's always technology, isn't it? Here we go. So those talks that we did for the great collaboration at the beginning were focused around, you know, land use, transport, energy generation, and improving energy performance in buildings. And there is a pattern across Herefordshire on the whole, where buildings have a huge chunk of these carbon emissions. And there are a lot of people living in fuel poverty as well. A lot of people who are on oil and who have some really difficult buildings to retrofit. We don't have, you know, these rows and rows of identical buildings. Our properties are, you know, larger than the national average. There are many historical and listed elements to consider, and they're quite unique, really. So we're fortunate enough at HGN to have some real experts on the steering group, and they've set up an initiative called Building Sense, Creating Comfort and Cutting Carbon. And though it is a new group, there's already a couple of recordings that you can have a little look at. I think the recent one was about heat pumps, actually. And I've put a link to our YouTube channel there because it's got everything in one place. But behind the scenes, they're working really hard to ensure that, you know, the builders that we've got in Herefordshire, which apparently are of a far higher calibre than the national average, but we need to ensure that they're trained in retrofit and that this becomes a focus, which is no small task. And it's all about training for this gradual growth in green construction and retrofit to raise the expertise really in the county. So watch this space. They are doing amazing things, and we will find out shortly if they have succeeded in quite a large funding bid, which would, as is typical with funding bids, they'll spring it on you and you've got 6 months to do it all, and you only had 4 days to get the application in. So so rest assured, not everything that's shown on the surface that's not all that we do. There's a lot going on behind the scenes as well. So this one here, I said I would continue about the great collaboration, and linked to this project is the Great Collaboration Portal. So we were lucky enough to receive some funding from MCS to develop an online platform for local councillors to use as an engagement tool really for their community. And I'd like to share that with you now. So it's all about taking our communities along with us and using them to direct council action. You know, you can't just tell people what needs to be done. They need to be a part of the journey, I believe. So, you know, to make communities more sustainable, we need to kind of engage entire communities in the process of change. I think some areas have it easier with that than others. Our trial was in Fownhope, and the clerk there is incredible. Their environmental working group is incredible, and they're really ahead of the game, to be honest with you. And we're now in a position where we're rolling out to the next 2 local councils that were on our waiting list. And again, I've put in some massive funding bids in the hope that I can get more people to help me to kind of facilitate this and to, you know, we've got 13 councils, and wouldn't it be great if we got all of them using this? So what you do is you sign up, you log in. I think it's that one. There you go. Oh, no, there it is. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
I can't remember if I came out and went back in again. Brilliant. So once you're in, you basically go to, we've got all of these different categories. So does anyone want to choose one? What do you fancy looking at?
Maybe food and waste.
Okie dokie, food and waste, here we go. So we have, I'm going to just move all your little faces to one side. You know, we've got drop-down menus with a lot of information behind the scenes. So if you want to delve deeper, there is a lot there. And crucially, we've got information about, you know, what is happening locally. So some of our 80 members groups, and of course, there's a lot there, isn't there? A lot of additional information. But essentially what you get is a bunch of actions, tangible actions, and it gives you an estimate of the cost. So you can see there's quite a few that are free there. It's mostly behavioural changes, and it gives you an estimate of the carbon reductions as well. So let's have a little look at this one. Do you really need it? Oh no, let's choose one that's got a bit more bang for it. Oh, here we go. Meat-free Mondays, controversial. There was the school, I won't tell you which one, who tried to do that, and there was outrage with the parents. This is why it's important to take your communities along with you. Otherwise, it falls flat on its face. So this one is free. It's a behavioural change. It's got a fairly decent amount of carbon savings there. So I'm going to say, yeah, do you know what? I'm going to commit that. I'm vegetarian, so actually it doesn't really, just for the sake of this. And then it goes, so basically you can go into your actions and you can see the things that you've committed to do. There are things that perhaps you can't do right now. So I can do those things right now. I've clearly just showed it to somebody else. You know, I can't switch to complete electric vehicle because they're really expensive, or perhaps maybe there isn't the infrastructure where you live. And now this sort of thing exists already out there, but it is pioneering because it sends that data to the local council directly to inform their actions. So if we go to insights, I don't think there's many people using it in my local council, unless it's, so you might see, oh, I've got Fownhope down. Okay, that's fine. We'll just wait for that to load up. But it tells you what the barriers are, really. So I can see the things that people are really interested in there. A lot to do with houses, actually, in Fownhope, last time I looked. So, for example, people need help to switch it in Fownhope. That's clear from the data that's coming through. As a direct result of that, Fownhope are, I mean, when they're allowed to, they've had to postpone it a lot, but they've basically taken over a local school. And for the day, they've got a bunch of laptops, and you can't advise people who to go with, but you can help people who perhaps don't have access to broadband or a laptop or anything like that. You can help them to switch their energy providers with these comparison sites to a green tariff, essentially. So that's, you know, a great big community event. You can get everybody switched over as quickly as possible in one fell swoop, and it's being directly informed by the need that's out there. So yeah, I really hope that that sort of explains things a little bit. Part of my job really is to, here we go, is to help to analyse that and to translate it into tangible actions. So, you know, it might be, it's all about the cost of the environment. The actions are all about the environmental costs of the day-to-day things that we do. And it's an attempt to reduce your carbon footprint. And anybody can log in and do that. You know, you can do that now. You don't need to pay or anything like that. You log in and it's all fine. The really interesting bit is when you get a whole community doing it together, you launch it to everybody, you really generate a buzz and an interest in it, and then the local council gets that data through. So that's what we've done with Found Hope, and we're rolling it out with another 2 councils who have actually planned some face-to-face sessions to launch this tool, which is exciting because we can do that now. So yeah, this data gets sent to local council, and my vision really is, if we get this funding bid, which I really hope we do, we will find out in about 2 weeks, and that will give me 6 months to employ another bunch of facilitators like me, who will essentially be a hand holder, really, a facilitator. They will go to the local councils that we've got ready and waiting, and they have also been gifted from Firestarter a marketing plan, which is like painting by numbers, basically. What do you need to do as a council to ensure that this is a success? How do you get it out there? So it's like a little package where we get to hold everyone's hands, because in my experience, clerks they don't really have a huge amount of spare time. Even if you're trying to ring fence officer time or a budget, you're really up against it, and councillors are, we're a bunch of volunteers. So to have somebody who is there to drive this forward and to ensure that it's rolled out successfully, and you can kind of, you know, get all of that valuable data in, but also get the community geared up, I think is really vital. And we have actually scaled this up so it can be used at a national level. So we've grouped it together for regional and LEPs as well. I did hear a rumour that LEPs were on the way out, but you can group the data together. And we're having a conversation with somebody from the Centre for Alternative Technology who was very excited about this. And the first thing he said was, well, why isn't this informing government policy? You know, I guess it's like a digital version of citizens' assemblies to a certain extent. You know, it's something we can get everybody involved a little bit more. So there is a chance that I'm getting ahead of myself, but we do have users across the country, and I don't really know how that happened because I haven't advertised it across the country at all. It's kind of grown organically beyond Herefordshire, which is exciting. So yes, the next piece of homework, I suppose, would be to go in, sign up. I spend my life talking about this stuff, although I'm quite new to it. I feel like I've become quite entrenched in it. And looking through, there was still loads of things in there that I learned. So even if you've been doing this stuff for a while, I'm sure there will be things in there that will inspire you to take action. And tell your local council about it so that we can get everybody in Herefordshire on board. Tell them to have a little look. I think, to be honest with you, I kind of sped through that, Anjali. Was that super quick, half hour?
Yeah, no, I mean, if that's the gist of it, then that's fab. That platform looks really, really, really interesting, and I'm excited to go on there and have a look myself. Yeah. So you said that you'd be able to send the slides around, would you? So everyone has got those links.
Yeah, I think it's just easier having it in one place, so you don't have to go hunting around on, you know, maybe not Google, but one of them.
Yeah, I think so. Does anybody have any questions there? Rod? Do you want to, you're on mute, Rod. Do you want to unmute yourself?
Sorry, I was fiddling with the controls. Yeah, I mean, all I was going to say, it wasn't so much a question. It was just to say that I've probably been fairly heavily, not doing lots of work, but attending most of the stuff that's gone on with Herefordshire Green Network over the last 15 months. And, you know, some of the stuff that they're doing and how they're trying to do it and get it through to communities and things like that, for me is absolutely brilliant, because it is getting people on board. And I think, as Beth has said, you know, as a councillor, you don't get any question. Well, the only thing you get is complaints about why you haven't cut the grass more, and why you haven't sort of weed killed the sides of the roads and things like that. What you don't get is people actually coming forward with really good environmental and sustainability things. And I think you've got to find some medium that will trigger people into thinking about it. And there's an example in our village, which, you know, if I'm going on, tell me to shut up, but where one of the guy, George, who's moved in fairly recently, you know, has set up a bit of a recycling thing. And, you know, he probably doesn't get a massive amount of recycling going through there, but the fact, you know, it's there, it's visible to people. I'm quite certain, you know, people have spoken to it, it does trigger them to think, yeah, should I be doing more recycling, or what can I do? Whether that always links into an action is, you know, is questionable, but, you know, it's just trying to change the mindset.
There was a project, actually, Christina, who's on the steering committee, knows more about it, but it was something about, it was called something like Talk Hairdressers. And it was saying, well, how do you have these conversations in places like the local hairdressers or tattoo parlour? Or how does that begin? And that's really, really interesting. And actually what you said about the weed killer there, and verge maintenance and things like that, that's often, I think a lot of local councils go to that. Like, oh, that's something we can do. You know, that's something we can do, and they clutch at it. But actually, if you just do it without informing people or explain to them why you're doing it, you know, I know that South Shropshire have put up some incredible signage just to illustrate why. And in Leominster, we've done it where we've kind of mown about a foot or so back. So it looks maintained, it looks purposeful, and just learning like that, it's so simple, isn't it? But it just keeps the community on board. And I do think we've got so much to learn still, Roderick. We've got, you know, we've only rolled it out and found Hope, who have been very, very on board with this. So it'd be really interesting to see what happens with the next couple of parishes. And I'm very interested in Leominster, actually. Leominster for me is a difficult place. There's a huge disparity in Leominster, and being an outsider, there doesn't seem to be much pride in the town. I don't really know why, because I think it's gorgeous. So it's, I just don't see it. So things like this, I think, closing the gap between, you know, the local governance and the transition groups that might exist in there, and the movers and the shakers, and getting them all together is vital.
We've got some questions in the chat. Jill asked, you mentioned other areas have been using your tools class website. Is that the intention, to spread to other areas?
Yes, definitely. And actually this funding bid, if we get it, is all about Herefordshire, but it's teeing us up for taking it further. And to be honest with you, I would be quite happy if, I personally am only really interested in Herefordshire from a very personal level, but the tool itself is so useful. The intention is that it would spread. But wouldn't it be great if somebody else came along and took the baby and let it fly? And there are those conversations going on with people who are much bigger than Herefordshire. Yeah, which is quite exciting, really.
I'll come back to Phil's question, because I think Jill's second question sort of links into that. She said, do we lead the way in Herefordshire? I know I hear more about Herefordshire actions through the Wildlife Trust, but I like to think there are other things happening in other parts of the country. Is that right?
Yes, there are. And I attended an event recently for councillors, and kind of came away from it feeling like Herefordshire was doing an awful lot, but that not everybody really knew about it. And I think that's a criticism that I would have of myself and of Herefordshire Green Network in general. I feel like sometimes we're so busy cracking on that we forget to kind of illustrate what we're doing and tell everybody what we're doing. So that's certainly like an area for improvement. But yes, there are a lot of inspirational case studies around the country, and a lot of transition groups actually who are doing wonderful things. I'm just thinking, actually, maybe I could send out that list. If Jill wants to have a little look at some of the success stories from around the country, I have got a list that I can send out via you, Andalea, as well.
Yeah, that would be lovely. And then Phil has asked, is there a working group looking specifically at wildlife?
There is a land use section which would cover that as well, which Nick Reed, if you know him, he heads up, Farm Herefordshire. He did a lot of work with Bright Space, which is, he's the guru. He knows everything about that sort of thing. He's a very well respected man. So he's like our go-to for wildlife and land use. But in terms of projects, it is very much decided based on the biggest impact on carbon. So at the moment it's building sense. I envisage perhaps in the future transport would be something that that we would like to delve into, but there's only so much capacity, unfortunately. But in terms of questions and expertise, anything like that, you can just direct to us, and we can ask Nick Reed, the man.
We did have Nick did a talk for us a couple of months ago about his agricultural chaplaincy. So I also have his contact if anybody does want to get in touch with him. I just had a quick question, if that's all right. I was wondering how you're sort of measuring the outcomes of this. Obviously, carbon reduction will be hard to measure, I assume. So what are your sort of measures?
Yeah, that is hard. That would be hard, definitely. I think, to be honest with you, the piece of work that I'm working on at the moment, so when a council takes the portal, the Great Collaboration portal, on board and launches it in their community, they also get this kind of marketing strategy and how to engage with people. On the other end of things, when the data comes through, you've got these 60+ actions, and I'm working on a piece of work that takes those actions and directly transfers them into, so what can councils do? So, again, painting by numbers. Who was so, from Gloucestershire, I think, who was so interested in what we were doing. But again, it's those events where I sometimes sit there and I think, my goodness, we're doing all this, we're doing it, we just need more people and more money.
That's the case for everyone.
Yeah.
Does anybody have any more questions? No? Lovely. Okay, so I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you, Beth, so much for that. That was really, really interesting and really inspiring. I'm sure we'll all get on that homework that you've given us once you send it. So yeah, thank you so much, and thank you everyone for coming, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
Yeah, I will send all those details out. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.